Wednesday? Fuck, I have no idea what day of the week it is. Wednesday? Is it Wednesday? Wednesday,
I
December.
was doing that last night.
No concept right at this point. The last couple of days have
Yeah.
been up in the air. Wednesday, December 26th. I hope everyone had a fantastic holiday. If you like Christmas, I hope it was great. If you don't like Christmas like I do, it was still a great day to spend with family, relax, watch some basketball. I'm really excited to not have to do the 24 days of giveaways read. Congrats to everybody that got a giveaway. That one's long. It's a lot. But we are brought to you by Thrive Fantasy. Thrive Fantasy is the spot to go in fantasy now if you're interested in the prop side. Adam and I are big fans of this site. At the end of the show, we will pop in and give our favorite 5 Thrive props for today. Basically, there will be 20 props as I'm showing on the screen. You pick your favorite 10, whether you expect a player like Devin Booker to go over or under a 24.5 point total. You get points based on whether they go over or under. That's sort of where the game theory comes into play. You need to think not only where people are going to be making their picks, but also how many points you get for them. So we will talk about those props at the end of the show. But now, Adam, how was your holiday?
It was good. It was relatively relaxing. You know, only lost marginal amounts of money on basketball. Well, I'm finally profited on Yahoo, so I don't feel like a complete piece of shit anymore. Finally made money in their overlay, so yeah. It was pretty good. How was yours?
Fantastic, super relaxing. We do a low key holiday here. We fly my parents down. My father-in-law lives about an hour and a half away, so he drives down, and we just we wake up when we wake up, make some coffee, sit around, relax, and then I watched 2.5 basketball games yesterday. I'll take what I can get. That's as much as I was able to convince everybody to watch basketball for.
Yeah, that's more than I was able to get to, but
it was easy to sell Warriors Lakers. I was like, it's LeBron, it's Steph Curry, everybody. These are great guys.
Yeah.
And then I was able to have the Thunder Rockets game on in the background while we played board games and stuff. So
yeah, the Lakers Golden State game was our board game time. So it was okay, well that's the game that I was really looking forward to watching. But whatever, we can do this.
Yeah, as long as I could hear it, it's fine. Yahoo is. We've said this a couple times now, but if they're continuing to give you guaranteed overlay, everyone should start their mornings on Yahoo and get that money in first. Honestly, ignore FanDuel and DraftKings. If you're a $10 a day player or something, or a $20 a day player, seriously, you shouldn't even be opening FanDuel and DraftKings at this point. Jam it into Yahoo until they stop paying out more than they should.
Yep.
That easy. 2, 4, 5. 10 game slate? There we go.
10 game slate.
I added those up, not individually, but in groups, because they were the same shape, so to speak. 10 games, Wednesday. I love it. I'm ready for a really nice slate to dive into, so let's just get to it. We got a ton to talk about.
Yeah, let's go.
Pistons Wizards, 113.25 implied total for the Pistons, 108.25 for the Wizards. Nice pace up spot for the Pistons. We'll start as we normally do on the Pistons with Drummond and Blake. Drummond finally more expensive on both sites. $9,700 on FanDuel, $9,200 on DK, $41 on Yahoo, because we need to actually talk about that now. Blake, 91, 9,040 across the board. Any preference here between the two in this spot against your Wizards?
I mean, I think they're both obviously really, really good plays.
Yeah.
So not a strong preference. I do think that a 20-20 game from Drummond is probably the starting point. And if you got to 30-30 or 50-50, it wouldn't really be that surprising here. I mean, it's just such a great spot for him. You know, the pace up spot gives more possessions. It's a Washington team that can't shoot. It's a Washington team that can't rebound. I don't know how he doesn't just have an absolute monster game here. But at the same time with Blake, I mean, he's probably he's definitely a triple double threat here. It's just a phenomenal spot for both of them.
I completely agree. They're projecting almost equally for me. I have Blake 0.2 of a point ahead of Drummond on DK. I don't really have much of a preference either way. On DraftKings, I would probably go to Blake to save the 200, but I don't really have much aversion either way. On FanDuel, it's different since you're only locked into one center, but I don't think that you can go wrong with Drummond. It looks like a fantastic cash option as well. Across the board, I mean, if you like Drummond or Blake for any reason whatsoever, take it. It's a
Yeah.
good spot.
Drummond's not projecting as highly for me as I would like. And I mean, I'm probably going to just do the thing. I very rarely manually adjust stuff, but I don't think that having Drummond at like 47.5 fantasy points is right. So I'll be bumping him a little bit.
Any idea of what you think would be holding that back? Just for people when you say that.
Probably just the baselines for the Wizards being set for more than the last month or whatever. Like,
Gotcha.
Obviously they weren't this bad of a rebounding team and they weren't this fast before. So probably just historical data versus what they're doing right now.
Okay. Drummond 20% expected ownership on FanDuel, Blake 18, similarly on DK 16 and 17. I see no problem going over both of those numbers, no matter the site. Don't have any issue with it whatsoever. Anybody else from the Pistons? Reggie Jackson's getting a little bit of love on FanDuel at 5,500. I don't have much interest there outside of like if I got him, I got him.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I'm at. Drummond and Blake are the clear priorities, but Reggie Jackson certainly has upside if he were to get 30 minutes. His playing time's obviously all over the place, but it's just such an appealing matchup that I think that's fine. And then even if, obviously 10-game slate, it's not a priority, but Reggie Bullock is just a spot where he should get so many open looks here and play, 34 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
If I get some of him, I'm fine with that too.
Yeah, 5K on FanDuel. I got some on my first crunch. 4,700 on DK. Just $13 on Yahoo. He's probably the best sort of like dollar for dollar play from the Pistons. But there are so many guys in that like sub $15 range on Yahoo that you don't need to go crazy prioritizing Reggie Bullock. There are much better plays than that coming up for sure. Let's talk about your Wizards. 9,700 for Wall on FanDuel. 8,600 on DraftKings, $41 on Yahoo. I got an absolute ton of him on FanDuel, which means that I would get a crazy amount on DK. I really like Wall here.
Yeah, I'm having the opposite problem with him that I was with Drummond. He's just going absolutely crazy in my projections, and I don't feel good about it because, I mean, it's a pace-down game. Detroit actually has been good defensively. They're in the top 10 in defensive rating over the last month, but Wall at the same time, over the last month, he has a 30.5% usage rate. He has a 44% assist percentage. He should play somewhere around 38 to 40 minutes. You don't want to take anything away from that Pacers game because minutes wise, because Scott Brooks specifically said that he was going to cut back a little bit after that triple overtime game against Phoenix the day before. So no reason not to expect huge minutes again. So yeah, I like Wall quite a bit just because he's obviously the focal point of the offense. And he's going to play huge minutes.
I don't love him that much on Yahoo. The $41 price tag, same as Drummond, $1 more than Blake. I think there are better values in the high end than Wall, but no real aversion to it. I think he looks best on DK at 86.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
Any interest in Beal or Trevor Ariza?
Yeah, I mean, Beal, if you're not playing Wall, you can get, a little bit cheaper Beal. He's obviously the second option in this offense. He also plays monster minutes. So I think that I'll probably end up with more Wall than Beal, but I think Beal's a perfectly fine play. And then, Ariza should play 36 to 38 minutes. He actually has about a 19.5% usage rate so far with Washington, which is up 3 to 4 percentage points from his time with Phoenix. He's averaging 0.85 fantasy points per minute, but he's still cheap enough that even if he does drop off from that point per minute production back down towards, a 0.75 fantasy point per minute clip, he's still a pretty decent play in the minutes that he's playing. But I guess it is worth noting that Jeff Green, at least on DraftKings, Jeff Green's $1,200 less expensive than Ariza, probably plays like 4 to 6 fewer minutes, but has just been playing really, really well. And I think is a reasonable play.
Yeah, 4,200 for Jeff Green and DK. We're projecting 19% ownership. He also looks really good at Yahoo at $12. Any thoughts on Thomas Bryant for $11 on Yahoo? There's too much value at that number now across the board.
So the thing with Bryant is obviously he had that monster game, but we have to keep in mind, not only did it go to triple overtime, but Markieff Morris fouled out.
Yeah.
There was nothing different about Thomas Bryant's rotation there other than Markieff Morris fouled out and then he got 3 extra periods. Against Indiana, he went right back to his 18-minute rotation or whatever. So he can certainly be productive here, and I like him, long term. I think that he has his role increases. But I don't think we're seeing anything real right now that says it's imminent. So it's still really tough to get behind him outside of, just maybe splashing him into some tournaments on, like DraftKings where you can play 150 lineups. But it's tough for me to get to him in, one of 10 on Yahoo.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just think that he still has upside, but it's just not someone that I'm projecting for more than 18 to 20 minutes.
Totally agree. I didn't know if you would think that he might see a couple extra minutes because of Drummond.
Yeah, I mean he could, but it hasn't been. Washington just hasn't really run their rotations like that. It's basically been, regardless of matchup, Keefe comes in and Keefe plays until he picks up his 3 fouls, and then he goes to the bench, and then he plays again until he fouls out. They haven't really adjusted too much, I don't think, for size. But if like I could be talked into, I guess a few extra minutes for Bryant, getting him into like that 22 to 24 minute range. But I'd be surprised if he got like 4 actual stints or anything.
Okay. Only other guy I would want to point out that seems to be popping up relatively nicely for me, Keefe at 4,500 on DK.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
If he manages to not pick up those 3 immediate fouls, could look
right.
good.
Exactly. And it's not like it's a bad matchup for him. Like obviously he's not going to get rebounds, but he also can give Drummond a hard time as far as pulling him away from the basket, and he should get plenty of open looks. So and then the rest of his minutes will be matched up with either John Lure or Zaza. So I think it's a perfectly fine matchup for Keefe as long as he can manage not to foul.
There we go. Moving on. Ooh, this one's ugly. The Orlando Magic hosting the Phoenix Suns. Magic 106.75 implied total. Suns 102.75. Starting with Vooch, 8,900 on FanDuel, 8,900 on DraftKings, $41 on Yahoo. It looks really good on basically across the board. The same way that I read those prices would be my priorities for him. I'd like him a lot on FanDuel. I have less interest on DraftKings. I don't really have much interest at $41 on Yahoo. Any thoughts on Vooch tonight?
My baselines actually have him projected higher than Drummond, which makes me uncomfortable, but I do like him. I mean, DeAndre Ayton hasn't been able to really do anything defensively. He hasn't done a good job of boxing guys out and rebounding. So it's another spot where I expect Vooch to be very, very successful, but where I think for me, comes in a little behind Drummond, even though I currently have him projected a little bit higher, is that I think he plays a couple less minutes. Drummond probably plays 34 to 36. You probably get about 32 from Vooch. And then it's also just a slower paced game. Phoenix doesn't play fast. Orlando doesn't play fast, whereas it's a pace off spot for Drummond. So that's kind of the difference for me why I have Drummond ahead of Vooch, even though I really like the spot for Vooch as well.
Okay. The guy that I really do like here at the high end, $7K for Aaron Gordon on FanDuel, $6,900 on DraftKings, $26 on Yahoo. That's $7,000 price tag for Aaron Gordon against the Suns. I don't care if this is the new Suns over the past week and a half. I still think this is a spot where Aaron Gordon can step out on the floor and think that he's the best player. And I think those are the type of games that he gets up for, as weirdly as it sounds, because I think those sort of narratives are dumb. But for $7K, I see a lot of upside in his price point. Do you like Aaron Gordon at all?
Yeah, I haven't been that high on him this year, but he clearly does still have upside, and it's a Phoenix team that doesn't rebound well, which those are spots where I really like Gordon. Obviously having Jonathan Isaac out there, having Vooch out there cuts into your median projections for Gordon because it takes rebounds away, but he's cheap enough that he can go out there and, get 45, 50 points. So I do like the price more on FanDuel, like you said. I think it'll probably be a little bit tougher for me to get to him on DraftKings.
Okay. Is there anybody else standing out for you from the Magic, whether that's Fournier or John Isaac, Ross, Augustine, anything for you?
$3,900 Jonathan Isaac on DraftKings is just a misprice, I think.
Yep, I agree. That's the one that's standing out for me pretty egregiously. He's $13 on Yahoo. Ross and Augustine are both $10. So, I mean, for 25-plus minute punts, it's not out of the realm of possibility when you're playing a Suns team that, whether they're having a resurgence over this past 2 weeks or not, they're still the Suns. So it's still a good matchup for people, but no need to force anything in here crazy. Vooch, 21% expected ownership on FanDuel, 15 on DK. That feels high.
Yeah, I'm pretty torn on him because I just went in and adjusted my rates for him, and it got him like 4 or 5 points higher than Drummond now.
Okay. There you go. There's just like on FanDuel, I think there are, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 legitimate center options up and down the scale. So to think that Vooch would get 1/5 of the ownership feels a little high to me.
How many FanDuel points do you have him projected for?
43.
Okay, yeah, I'm at 51.
That's a lot of points. How many minutes?
32.
Okay, so I've got 30. So right there, I can shave 3 points off of that gap just by bumping him to 32. That would get me pretty close. But Jokic, Drummond, Towns, Vooch, Gasol, Randall, Whiteside, DeAndre Jordan, Miles Turner, Willie Cauley-Stein, Mason Plumlee, which I hate saying out loud, Jared. Like there's so many bodies.
Right. It doesn't even have anything to do with Vooch. There's zero reason in FanDuel tournaments to be playing like if any of these centers were to be 20 to 30% owned, there's just no reason not to be taking a lot of that 20 to 30% and spreading it around the other 6 centers that have the same ceiling.
Right. Yeah, like if you want to get to 20% on a lower owned guy, like I'm just picking a name, but like let's say Cody Zeller was somehow like a great play for reasons I don't know. Different at 53, but to pay up to 89 for 20% of Vooch when you can pay 200 more for Towns at slightly less ownership, or like pay $400 less for Marc Gasol and not have like that appreciably different of an outcome.
Right.
It's a tough sell when you only get one option.
Right. It's an example of where using median projections only get you so far, because even, for me, like right now, I have Vooch projected for the most points, but there's just no way that I would want, like, I wouldn't want to be like, oh, I'm just going to play double the field on Vooch and just have like no Towns, Jokic, Drummond, anyone else.
Yeah.
Because the median projection might be a little bit better, but they all have the same ceiling. So you're going to make more money over the long run if you just maximize your exposure to the guys that are lower owned and then hope that Vooch doesn't actually beat the entire group.
Yep. Totally agree. Let's talk Suns. Devin Booker, 9,100 on FanDuel, 8,500 on DK, $36 on Yahoo. I don't have a ton of interest in Booker. I don't really have any interest for anything from the Suns on FanDuel. I don't really have any on DraftKings, although TJ Warren at 6,100 is at least worth a look. On Yahoo, maybe Ayton, maybe Mikal Bridges, but otherwise, I don't see the Suns as terribly interesting.
No, neither do I. Orlando plays slow. They've actually been pretty decent defensively as well. Booker would be, but I mean, the price tag on Warren, like you said, at 6,100 is fine. Booker obviously can go out there and throw up 50 fantasy points in any game. It's just that he's 8,500 on DraftKings. John Wall's 86. Bradley Beal's 8,000. So it just between games or from games that we've gotten to so far, he's the third ranked guy in that price range for me.
Yeah. Any thoughts on Ayton? $24 on Yahoo.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty fair price tag. It's just such a stacked position that it's tough to prioritize him. Vooch, obviously doesn't have a good defensive reputation, but he has been better this season than in the past. He's obviously a very good rebounder, and that could make life a little bit difficult for Ayton. Obviously, he's been playing really, really well, and I think he's really talented. It's just that the position's so stacked, and on non-Yahoo sites, the price tag's getting up there.
Yeah. The crazier point is, like, he is $24 on Yahoo. I'd rather have like a wealth of guys before him, because that 24 is just sort of like floating in the middle of everything. Whereas you can easily get to, $20 Willie Cauley-Stein in a great matchup, even if you just want to pay down for someone else and save money. Like there's just that $10 to $15 range is just loaded with potential value that I feel like the balanced pieces on Yahoo are really tough to justify. Not like Vooch is some tough matchup, though.
What'd you say?
Sorry, I said coffee. I said it's not like Vooch is some tough matchup, though.
Yeah, I mean, he's been better this year.
Yeah.
But still not something I'm shying away from. But I mean, yeah, I'm with you. Like Cauley-Stein at $20, Montrezl Harrell in that same game at $20.
Yeah.
And yeah, even from like an upside standpoint, Whiteside and Jordan are similarly priced.
Yeah. Alrighty. Anything else from Orlando and Phoenix?
No.
Just in case you're new to this, everybody, if you joined us for the holiday season, NBA Strategy is the promo code. 7-day free trial on any package you would like at awesemo.com. If you're interested in trying out Fantasy Cruncher as well, make sure you pick a package that includes Fantasy Cruncher. It won't cost you a dime. 7-day free trial. You can cancel immediately if it's not your interest, and it won't. You'll be able to still have those full 7 days. You'll get the whole trial even if you cancel immediately. Don't cancel though. Hang out with us. And then hit the like button and comment. All the good stuff. One big plug. Atlanta Hawks hosting the Indiana Pacers. This should go bad for the Hawks. 104.5 implied total for Atlanta. 112.5 for Indiana. We'll start on the Hawks side. I'm assuming John Collins plays. There's some trickle-down effects if he doesn't. 8,300 on FanDuel. 7,600 on DraftKings. $34 in Yahoo. I don't have any interest here in Collins. I don't really have any interest in anything in Atlanta. Kevin Herter for $10 on Yahoo, sure. Otherwise, I'm good on this game, or good on the Hawks at least.
Yeah, Collins is the only guy that I could really justify having any sort of real interest in.
Yeah.
But again, it's not anything that I expect to have tons of.
Yeah, there's just nothing there. Dwayne Dedman for 15 on Yahoo is fine, but again, we're loaded up in that sort of guy. Otherwise, I mean, you're really reaching. Tough matchup. Indiana, fantastic defensively. I just don't see it. There is something I like on this other side of the game, though, a lot. Victor Oladipo, 8,500 on FanDuel, 8,700 on DK, $35 on Yahoo. I think Oladipo might be one of my favorite plays of the day.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly reasonable.
Oh my God. Like 8,500 for him with what his ceiling can be. The way that he gets steals in a game against the Hawks, who should cough this up constantly. 30th in turnover rate. This could be a very good ceiling game for Oladipo, and he's the 5th most expensive shooting guard. That's my spot. I want a ton of Oladipo. Playing the Hawks should make him feel young again, since he's been not great lately. And big time pace up spot for the Pacers too. I have a hard time not wanting to smash Oladipo.
Yeah, same here.
Doesn't matter which side either.
Yeah, he's another guy in that price range that I would just rather have than Devin Booker, as much as I like Devin Booker as a player.
Yeah.
Oladipo hasn't been great lately. The usage hasn't really been there since coming back from injury. I guess that would be like the most concerning thing. He only has one game over 26% usage rate since coming back, but still the upside's been there. He's got 2 out of those 7 games over 52 points, 52 fantasy points. He still contributes in a bunch of different ways, and obviously I don't expect his usage to stay this low for the rest of the season. He's still probably not 100% healthy, which is concerning, but it's just such a good matchup that I still like him a lot.
I would have liked to like Miles Turner more. Only 7,300 on FanDuel, 8K on DK, 30 on Yahoo. I'll have a little bit, but I don't see him as really playable on DraftKings.
Yeah, I mean, I love the spot, and he's just been playing, out of his mind. I think that it's not even really that I think the price tag's too expensive. It's just that I think that there's less excess value on him than there is on other guys.
Yep, totally agree. I got quite a bit of the rest of this game, though. Thaddeus Young, Bojan, Darren Collison. All these guys are underpriced on FanDuel. Thad Young at 5,900, Bojan at 5K, Darren Collison still only at 4,500. I like rotating these guys in as potential value plays against Atlanta, where Indiana's going to have their way with them if they want to.
Yeah, this is also a matchup where you could potentially see a little bit more of Sabonis and Turner alongside each other, because the Atlanta front court's either going to be Dedman and Collins for substantial minutes or Dedman and Len. Yeah. So it's a big enough front court where you could certainly see, maybe 26 to 28 minutes from Sabonis instead of 22 to 24.
There you go. That's a good point. Sabonis looking pretty good at $20 on Yahoo too.
Yeah, totally agree with that.
And I have like a relatively pessimistic projection of him normally. I mean, good from a per minutes perspective, but I have him in for 25 minutes. It wouldn't take much for him to really mess up a $20 price on Yahoo.
Yeah. Did you mention Thad Young?
I did. I got him more than double the projected field right now, 5,900 on FanDuel.
Yeah, I think it's just like a really good spot for him. It's a team that he can do damage in transition. It's a team that'll turn the ball over a bunch. The only real concern would be what I just mentioned as far as the matchup with the front court, where if Sabonis is getting a few extra minutes potentially, then it's probably at the expense of Young. So I just wouldn't want to play Sabonis and Young together.
There you go. Anybody else from this game? I think we touched on everything from Indiana.
Yeah, it's just a great spot for everyone on the Pacers.
Let's do it. Move on. Brooklyn Nets. Wow, 5 games before or by 7:30. That's a good start. Brooklyn Nets hosting the Charlotte Hornets. 111 implied total for the Nets. 109 implied total for the Hornets. We'll start on the Brooklyn side. I got a lot of Brooklyn, and I always get a lot of Brooklyn, and I need to be talked out of it. But some of it looks good. D'Angelo Russell, 6,900 on FanDuel, 7,500 on DraftKings, $23 on Yahoo. I really wouldn't want him on DK, but 6,900 on FanDuel looks good, and so does $23. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree, and I don't even have a problem with him on DK. More so in tournaments than cash games. I don't think you need to get there in cash games.
No.
But I mean, this is a guy that legitimately can go score 55 plus fantasy points at 7,500. So just from the ceiling perspective, I like him in tournaments. It's a spot where it should be a fast enough paced game. Brooklyn's at home. I think it's a perfectly fine spot regardless of site.
Okay. Works for me. Spencer Dinwiddie, also 6,900 on FanDuel, 7K on DK, $24 on Yahoo. I'm fine with any sort of shares of Dinwiddie as well.
Agreed. He's been good lately.
Yeah. Who do you prefer on DraftKings, Russell or Dinwiddie? Russell, $500 more expensive.
Russell, I just think that he's the more volatile of the two players. He's the one, like, Dinwiddie can go get you 40, 45. Russell's the one that can hit like 60.
Yeah. Okay. Jared Allen, any interest on any site?
Not really. It's just tough to get to him on slates like this where the position's really deep, because you're very rarely getting more than 30, maybe 32 minutes from Allen, and just not, as productive as a lot of these other guys. The opportunity cost is what kind of keeps me off of him.
Okay. So I got 60% Kuruks on my first crunch, which is not the way that I like to start my day. But he's 4,000 on FanDuel and playing, close to 30 minutes. Do you have any aversion to that? He's also $12 on Yahoo.
I mean, the 60%, I have an aversion to the play itself. No.
Okay.
I mean, obviously you do, but in general, like, you just have to know what it is. He's going to play 30 to 32 minutes. He's not really a high usage guy. He's averaging, somewhere around 0.8, 0.85 fantasy points per minute. So the most likely outcome is that he gives you a perfectly fine game that doesn't help or hurt you. He certainly can go out there and lay an egg, as we saw the last time he was chalk, I think.
I think Kuruks is a good example of what comes out of an optimizer. Ultimately, it's still just spitting out the most efficient way to build a lineup from a point per dollar basis. There's no added ingredients that change the way that this looks. So he's a fantastic point per dollar option. I would have no problem using him in cash on FanDuel. It seems like a relatively easy spot if he's going to have that kind of minutes outlook. But the upside for his $4,000 price tag is relatively limited, especially if he's going to be chalky. So while he's obviously going to pop up for me in massive amounts of crunches in raw numbers, having 60% Kuruks is never going to be sort of the answer unless there's an actual misprice. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. It's just another example, and you said it, of medium projections are. I mean, they're obviously useful. They're a good starting point. But if you're just throwing medium projections around and not factoring in stuff like you talked about as far as upside and ownership, then you're kind of just going to be at a disadvantage to the field most nights.
Yeah. When you're dropping in raw projections like that and doing a crunch in the morning with very little attached to it, what you're really doing is crunching out some good cash lineups without factoring in ownership. You're getting the most point per dollar-y guys to start. Lop some of that off.
And also,
go ahead.
No, I was saying, and also doing it like in the morning like that, it gives you a good feel of probably the best roster construction from where should you be spending up, where should you be paying down kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that he's far and away the best tournament play in that price range just because he's who you're getting.
Exactly. Last guy that I got, and this is going to be similar to Kuruks. I've got some Joe Harris at 4,500. These Nets guys are all just really egregiously underpriced on FanDuel, and that's really not helping matters whatsoever. Like Kuruks is $12 on Yahoo. Again, like I'm happy to use him if that's the last $12 I have, but he shouldn't be like the core play. He's at 40% expected ownership on FanDuel. Kuruks chalk day. I mean, he's number one with a bullet, so probably don't need to eat all that Kuruks chalk.
Probably not.
Go to the Hornets side. $9,800 for Kemba Walker, $8,400 on DraftKings, $40 on Yahoo. I like him on DK. I don't really like him anywhere else.
Yeah, and even on DK, I mean, when you factor in the guys around him, like Wall and Oladipo, I think he's good. I don't have him quite as high as those guys.
Yeah, 8,400 is reasonable, but like to pay $9,800 on a 10-game slate for Kemba, you need a lot to go right.
Yeah, I agree with that. So you have Wall ahead of him, right?
I see. Can everybody hear my dogs outside my door?
I could like very, very, very faintly hear it. I didn't even realize what it was.
They're like bouncing out the office door, going nuts in the hallway. I have Wall at 46.9 DK points. I have Kemba at 43.6. So I have Wall quite a bit ahead.
I think I have Wall at 53 and Kemba at 41.
I don't have that sort of gap.
But I don't really know why that is, but that's how it is.
What do you think of Jeremy Lamb? 5,500 on DK, 21 on Yahoo. I don't feel the need to say anything about him on FanDuel, but I think that looks pretty good for DraftKings or Yahoo.
Yeah, I think that's a really nice price point. Obviously the caveat being that Charlotte's rotations kind of are all over the place, but we have seen Lamb's minutes be a bit more steady lately. He only played 27 and a half minutes in their last game against Boston, but that was a game where Boston was up by like 30 in the fourth quarter, so he just didn't come back in. He has been benefiting from Malik Monk not being in the rotation. So that's the part that scares me is we've seen Monk go, stretches of games where he doesn't play and then suddenly he plays, like 18 minutes. If that happens, then it's kind of scary for Lamb, but assuming that's not going to happen, you probably get, 34 minutes from Lamb in a competitive game.
Okay. Yeah, I'd have some interest on those two sites. Any interest in the bigs here in the natural smash bigs against the Nets narrative? Can you go to Zeller or Hernan Gomez?
I can. 4,400 Zeller on DraftKings is interesting to me. Yeah. I mean, the issue obviously is the same as we talked about with Jared Allen, where the opportunity cost is just through the roof because even though you can roster two centers, it's still costing you, one of the really high upside guys. And I think it's probably the best position on the slate today. Yep. But at 4,400, like Jared Allen was 5,600, where not only is the opportunity cost high, but he does actually have to have, a good game to make you happy at that price tag. It's pretty tough for Cody Zeller not to come close at least to a double-double here if he plays around 30 minutes.
Yeah. 4,400 is just too cheap, but it's such a tough sell to know. It's not even the price. It's like you said, it's the roster spot.
Right.
Hamstringing yourself into Cody Zeller means you aren't getting someone else with a much bigger ceiling. I know smash the centers against the Nets is a thing, but they also have to be able be out there long enough to smash. He can have a great game, and it's just not going to be enough in a tournament.
Yeah, it depends on what else you can get. Like he's cheap enough where if you use your center spot, like you can use your utility spot on Cody Zeller, you can still get a Vooch or a Drummond or whatever. So you have one of those really good centers, but then you can also get like an Oladipo or a John Wall or whoever. Like there's obviously enough good plays at other positions that you don't have to have two of those expensive centers in every lineup. And I think Zeller at 4,400 across positions is one of the better values. Like I would much rather play $4,400 Cody Zeller than $4,600 Kurucs.
I agree. I completely agree there. I think that's it for this game. Do we have a line on Heat Raptors yet? Because I had to make one up this morning.
Not sure.
We do. It is Toronto minus 4. 4 and 210.5. There were two games that didn't have lines when I did this. I only had it at 1. Change that. What was the other game? Timberwolves and Bulls is 4.5 and 212. That one I basically had right. All right, let's move on to that Heat game. Miami Heat hosting the Toronto Raptors. Heat 103.25 implied total. Raptors 107.25. This one is not an appealing fantasy game, barring injuries. There's one guy that I got a ton of on the Heat side. Any thoughts on who that might be?
Gonna guess. No, I have no idea. Josh Richardson?
James Johnson.
Oh,
4,400 on FanDuel, 3,700 on DK, $10 on Yahoo. Slowly seeing his minutes creep up. This is not an appealing spot, although James Johnson was fantastic in Toronto, revenge narrative or something. But do you want any part of the Miami side? Whiteside on DK, I guess. But again, we've had this conversation about centers for 36 minutes so far.
Right. I mean, you can't trust Whiteside at all. He certainly has monster upside, so he's fine. I don't think you'll need a lot of him to get over the field. I think probably the most appealing spot. What's Winslow's salary on FanDuel? I know he's a small forward.
5,500.
I think that's appealing just because he's essentially playing point guard.
Yep, I agree. 1% expected ownership too.
Yeah, I like Winslow.
I have him in 24 fantasy points. You know, it's just there. I want to see who's around him. Slow-mo, Barnes, Ariza, Bielitsa, Wancho, Jeff Green, John Isaac. It's just a really ugly area. Small forward is kind of dreadful today.
Yeah.
Oh, God. That's how you end up with a lot of Kuruks. Wait, no. He's not a small forward. He's a power forward, isn't he? I don't know where anybody's positions are when I look at it on this list. Yeah, he's a power forward.
How many points did you say you had Winslow for on FanDuel?
24.
I got him at
24.3.
Oh yeah, I got him at 28 too.
Yeah. So we're comparable.
Yep.
What do you have James Johnson at?
19 and a half.
How many minutes?
24.
Okay.
Which I'm not even convinced is something I'm going to stay with there. But
positively or negatively?
I might take a couple away.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've got him at 25 right now, just under a point per possession.
So now I got him to 20.8. I just updated his rates so that it accounts for Dragic not being out there.
Okay. Yeah, it's like 3,700 for him on DraftKings. I think there's some real upside in that number if he's going to start slowly ramping up those minutes again.
Yeah, I mean, the thing for me is he still didn't see the floor in the fourth quarter of that game against Orlando. I mean, granted, it wasn't the most competitive game, but you know, he basically just got a really, really long stretch in the third quarter and then still didn't play.
Okay. Do you have any interest in anybody else from Miami?
Not really.
Okay. I don't blame you. I don't see anything there. It's an ugly game for them. Anything from the Raptors? If I'm assuming everybody's healthy and in.
Yeah. So am I. And if that's the case, then no, not really, because you're just starting to get. I mean, Kawhi's been kind of expensive anyway, but you're starting to see guys' price tags come up as a result of the injuries that they've dealt with lately, and so as is always the case when you get a team fully healthy again, it just makes everyone kind of unappealing.
Yeah. If you really want to do it, people, Danny Green's $11 on Yahoo. Otherwise, just ignore it all. It's not the spot. I'm trying to look at it and think, is there anybody we actually need to touch on? But there's really not.
Like Ibaka's cheap on DraftKings at 5,700, but it's he's still just so much more productive without Kawhi. So I think if I had to take someone from Toronto, it would probably be 5,700 Ibaka. 9,500 Kawhi obviously is okay. It's just that when you think about it in context of the slate on DraftKings, he's $1,000 more than guys like Wall and Booker and Oladipo and Kemba and everyone.
And the same price as Drummond and
Yeah,
Griffin.
exactly. So it's tough, even though the price tag itself is appealing, it's tough to actually prioritize him over a ton of other guys. So Ibaka would be the one where I think that he probably has one of the higher ceilings in his price range.
I think that's fair. Moving on to a very interesting game on the NBA landscape just because of their recent trade history. The Chicago Bulls hosting the Minnesota Timberwolves. Bulls 103.75 implied total. Wolves 108 and a quarter. So Wolves pretty solid favorites in Chicago. Zach LaVine is questionable. The fact that go ahead, smart idea. Rush him back. That seems you got a lot to play for right now. Make
I was
sure
going
you
to
get
say,
a
I
win
assume
done.
he's not going to play, and then it's also the Bulls, so I have no idea.
There's all bets are off on this one. I've got him in for 32 minutes. It just feels like one of those spots where they're stupid. We'll see. Do you want any part of the Bulls in this one?
Wendell Carter's only 14 on Yahoo. I think that could go well.
Yep.
Obviously, there's a lot of risk. I think God, it's a really good Laurie Markkinen spot, but that price tag is just up there now. He's 7,700 on DraftKings. That's kind of like a break-even point for me, I think. So if I get some Markkinen, I'm fine with that. Chris Dunn at 7,400, I guess, is a pretty decent play if Levine's out.
Yeah. I just like. I guess I'd have some Chris Dunn if LaVine is out,
Yeah.
but just like everybody's just expensive or not good. I don't know. I don't want to hang my hat on the Bulls.
No, there's nobody that's like jumping off the page to me.
All right, let's talk about the Minnesota side. Karl Anthony Towns, 9,100 on FanDuel, 9,400 on DK, $4,100 on Yahoo. Give me your thoughts on Towns while I poke my head out to see if the Liverpool game is on for my dad.
Yeah, I mean, really, really good spot here for Towns. Another center that's obviously, really, really talented, but also in a prime matchup. You have a Chicago team that does not rebound well. Towns has averaged around 1.3 fantasy points per minute since the Jimmy Butler trade, but he also is a good bet to be one of the leaders in minutes, assuming, minutes played on this slate, assuming that the game stays competitive. We regularly see around 38 minutes from him in competitive games where he's not in foul trouble. He obviously only played 27 minutes in the last game against OKC, but he picked up 3 first-half fouls. He picked up his 4th foul about 4 minutes into the third quarter. So lost a pretty considerable amount of playing time there. I would expect somewhere in the 36 to 38 minute range as long as this game's close, and he should be able to do a lot of damage there. So, I think he's really, really comparable to Vooch and to Drummond.
Cliff notes, you like Karl Anthony Towns here?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I got an overwhelming amount of him. 9,100 on FanDuel is just ludicrously underpriced.
Yep.
It's going to be one of those cat days. It feels like the beginning of the season again. Only this time I don't have to worry about Jimmy Butler shaming him like afternoon lunch. Making him wear like a Hello Kitty backpack even though he's been in the league for 5 years or something. Love Towns. Didn't get much else here. Do we think Rose plays?
I have him in right now.
So do I. I didn't get any
He practiced yesterday.
He did?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't get any Rose. I didn't get any Covington, Wiggins, Saric, Gibson. I don't really have anything there. If Rose is out, Josh Okogie looks pretty nice at 3,600 on FanDuel. Don't play him on DK. Feel free to play him for $10 on Yahoo.
Best sounds about right.
Yeah. And nobody else really standing out. Prices are so much better on FanDuel, so I have a real hard time playing any of these guys on DK if I can't get them elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean,
except for Rose, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. Like Towns is the priority for me. Rose would probably be second.
Yeah, same.
Yes, I mean, without D, you've got a 29% usage rate for Rose since the Jimmy Butler trade, so certainly has upside.
Fading Towns rarely hurts you, if ever.
Except for when he scores like 75 fantasy points.
Yeah, this is a spot that terrifies me. Who slows him down on Chicago? If he wants this game, which, is up in the air for Karl Anthony Towns' psyche, he'll have whatever he wants. He is very clearly the best player on the floor, and there's not even a close second. Like, they might leave the second spot wide open and just put in the third spot of who the best player on the floor is. That's how much better Karl Anthony Towns is than every other person in this game.
Yeah. As far as the fading Towns in tournaments thing, I completely disagree with it for a couple of reasons. One, obviously Towns' the ceiling is through the roof, and he's in his last 10 or 15 games, he has 2 games over 70 fantasy points. So
Yeah.
obviously that hurts you. But on top of that, people don't play him. Especially on DraftKings. I think it was you and me, or me and Lofty had talked about it the other day. He just People play Drummond. People like Drummond. People like Vooch. People don't play Karl Anthony Towns. I think it's just because of the bad taste he left in everyone's mouth, and because from a floor standpoint, if you look at game logs, he has a lot of really bad games, whether it's blowouts or foul trouble or whatever. He's got some ugly games in there, but you're talking about a guy who generally people don't play over a couple of other guys on this slate, who has legit 70 plus fantasy point upside and is priced at a point where even when he scores 50 plus, it's giving you a good outcome. I think that he very, very easily can hurt you in tournaments.
Yeah, without question. I'd be very nervous to not have him in this spot. If you don't like him in this spot, you're probably not going to like Karl Anthony Towns all year. Ugh, God, do we even want to talk about this? The Memphis Grizzlies hosting the Cleveland Cavaliers. 103.5 implied total for the Grizz. 93 for the Cavs. Is that right? Oh my God.
I have the same thing.
-10, 190. Oh my God. Okay. 10.5 point favorites for the Grizz. I guess we'll start with the Memphis side because I don't know. Cleveland's bad. I don't have anybody from Memphis on FanDuel. I wouldn't have much of an issue with Conley for $28 if he plays. JaMychal Green for the flat minimum on Yahoo is fine. I'd be okay with Jaren Jackson at $20. Is there anybody that you want to prioritize coming from Memphis?
No, because even though Cleveland obviously is a good matchup as far as
Everything.
They suck, yeah, but they also don't play fast. Memphis doesn't play fast. It's just a game where you would expect to see a lot of drawn out possessions, and it obviously hurts everyone's fantasy value. So, if I get some Mike Conley or some $7,400 Marc Gasol, especially if Joakim Noah's out, I think Marc Gasol actually becomes a pretty good play at 7,400. Jaren Jackson would be a good play at 5,800 as well, just because you get more solidified playing time for them. Noah questionable right now, but as far as priorities go, they're more just guys that I would expect to get in some of my 150 lineups, but I would be pretty concerned if they're guys like at the top of my crunches.
Yeah. Oh my God, this is just a dreadful, dreadful experience. If you got points for shot clock violations, I think this might be an interesting game.
That should be one of the Thrive props.
That'd be good. Cavs side. Now, I am getting a lot of Cavs, mostly because they're just running out of bodies. I don't like it, so I think we need to have a conversation about how to approach teams that suck, that are in as bad of a game script possibility as you can get. We'll start with our boy, Larry Nance. Any interest in Nance tonight? 7,300 FanDuel, 7,100 DK, $26 on Yahoo.
Not really.
Yeah.
If I get some, I get some, but he's not a priority for me.
Jordan Clarkson, 5,400 on FanDuel, 5,700 on DK, 17 on Yahoo. He's a guy that popped up a lot for me because no Rodney Hood, no David Nwaba. They're super thin on wings. Do you like Clarkson?
He's the guy that I like the most on the Cavs, just because his issue all season long has been whether or not he can find the minutes. He's obviously the guy that goes out there and tries to do all the scoring when he's on the floor. So it's just been a matter of minutes. And without Hood and to a lesser extent Nwaba, the minutes should be there for him. It's obviously still just a bad matchup, and he's not attractively priced, at least on DraftKings. He's $5,700.
Yeah.
He's priced for this spot somehow.
Yeah, he's 5,400 on FanDuel. It's nice. It's not crazy. It's clearly better than DraftKings, but it's not like it's some sort of super price. I'll have some. I think Liverpool might have just scored. I don't know if anybody heard my dad yell. I got 55% Chetty. He's 4,700 on FanDuel. He's $12 on Yahoo. 4,200 on DK. I don't know how to manage the fact that this game sucks so bad from a fantasy perspective, but Chetty's in line to soak up 35 plus minutes easy.
Yeah, I still haven't projected for 22 points in 36 minutes.
Yeah, I have him at 23.5 on FanDuel, so I don't love it. Oh, Lovren with a rocket goal. Okay. That's not who I would have expected to have that, so I'm going to have to watch those highlights. Yeah, there's no way I'll be anywhere remotely close to 55% Chetty, but as a value play on both FanDuel and Yahoo, I think you need to keep your eye on it. Just remember that this game as a whole is slow and bad. Kind of got to avoid that.
And Memphis is actually a very good team defensively.
Yeah, it's the part that I think used to screw me up the most in fantasy. And when I mean used to, like 4 or 5 years ago, where bad teams would have guys out and everyone would look good on like a point per dollar basis because people are soaking up minutes, when in all actuality, like everything else about that game becomes a real big problem area.
Right. For me, one of the big things to pay attention to is when it comes to, any situation where there's bad players soaking up more minutes, especially if it's in an unappealing spot, is normally like everyone's aware of it. And so their ownership gets to where, even if they kind of do what you're expecting them to do and the guys playing big minutes, have good games or whatever, like you're not winning a tournament because of it, but you can win a tournament if that entire game just busts and you're getting fourth quarter minutes from guys that, people don't even know were on the team. So yeah, it all comes down to the ownership too.
Yeah, that's a really good point. If you are grabbing parts of this Cleveland side, at least try to script out in your head if you think that guy's going to be part of their closing five, because that's really what you're hoping for. A blowout and you're dead in the water almost assuredly, but at least make sure that the guys that you're playing are going to play in the end of the fourth quarter if the game matters. Oh God, Cleveland. Oh, they're so bad. They're going to win the lottery, aren't they? All they do. Send Dan Gilbert's kid in there and he's just going to win another lottery.
Yeah.
Dallas hosting the Pelicans. 115.25 implied total for the Mavs. 112.75 for the Pels. This is a really fun game. I want to watch this.
Yeah.
We'll start with our boy. Low standard deviation Luka, I think is his nickname. $8,300 on FanDuel, $8,300 on DK, $3,500 on Yahoo. Actually, let's start with this. Do you think Dennis Smith is playing? I have him in right now.
Guessing no, but I mean, I have him in right now. I think it's probably that he doesn't play, but I don't know. It's probably like 50-50.
Okay. So I have him in right now. That is obviously a major caveat. Do you want Luka at these prices? He's fucking awesome.
He's great. And he's finally, we talked about the low standard deviation, but always with the caveat that, it was like a month and a half or 2 months into his rookie season. Yeah, and there's no reason for him to always be like that. He's finally showing some upside as well. Dennis Smith, being in or out does matter as far as his assist production goes. But yeah, I mean, I like Luka. I don't really like him relative, at least on DraftKings, to the guys around him because I just think that the minutes become an issue. He's most likely going to play 32 to 34 minutes. And when you have guys in that price range, like Bradley Beal that play 38 to 40 and Devin Booker that probably plays around 38, not to mention Kemba, Oladipo, like all these guys just probably play more minutes than Luka and they're just as productive on a permanent basis.
Yeah, I'm totally
or close to it.
He's the buzzer beater from the corner with like no time left. Was it against the Blazers a couple nights ago?
Jordan reaction?
No.
I'll try and find it on Twitter, but it was just pretty good. Like DeAndre's reaction to that shot.
Okay, it's fantastic. Speaking of DeAndre Jordan, is he one of the better plays of the day at 6,400 on DraftKings?
Seems like a reasonable take. The problem obviously is just like if he gets you 40. So like let's say he gets you 40 DraftKings points at 6,400. That's good, but chances are someone out of that top tier center scores like 65 and just breaks the slate open. So that would be my only concern. But I think on a point per dollar basis, at least he's a really good play.
Seems like a really nice cash option at center tonight.
Yeah.
Mavs, they're like a fine rebounding team. They're 10th or so. So nothing crazy. Jordan is projecting for 24% ownership. So keep that in mind if you are a fan at 6,400. Other guys looking like decent values. I'd be fine with any amount of Harrison Barnes I get. That kind of happens a lot for me. I try to bring his projection down as much as I possibly can, but on a day like today where there's really not any quality small forwards on FanDuel, I think you can do worse than Barnes, particularly in this lovely up-tempo matchup for the Mavs. Barnes $20 on Yahoo. I think that looks nice as well. If Dennis Smith is playing, I love him on FanDuel at 5,400 unless we get some weird news that he's going to play like really limited minutes. I have him in for 28 right now, and he's $11 on Yahoo. If we know that Dennis Smith is playing tonight, $11 for him on Yahoo is an absolute no-brainer.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. Even 5K on FanDuel, or sorry, DraftKings is fine too.
Yeah. If we know he's in and we don't get any word like he's limited to 20 minutes or something, Dennis Smith is underpriced across the board.
Yeah, and I think more so. I mean, if Smith's out, maybe a little bit of a bump, but Wes Matthews at 4,400 on DraftKings, just in a game where I expect plenty of scoring, he's pretty reasonable, especially with guard and forward eligibility.
Yeah, don't sleep there. He's the most egregiously priced from the Mavs side. So he looks really good there on DK and perfectly fine at $13 on Yahoo. There's some nice value there.
Yeah. If Smith's out, I'll have some JJ Barea in tournaments too.
Yep. No issues there. Point per minute monster as much as someone can be. That's JJ Barea. Pelicans side. You assuming no Mirotic?
Yeah, he's already ruled out.
Oh, is he?
I think so. I think I saw it on Twitter like when I first woke up today.
Take your word for it. Actually, now that you're saying it, I feel like I saw it now too. Yep, Nico Mirotic out. Cool. Well, I already had him out anyway, so it's not like I'm changing anything. But AD, ooh, this third number is a biggie. 12.5 on FanDuel, massive. 11.8 on DK, massive. $58 on Yahoo is massive. Massive. What do you do with AD on a night like tonight? Take what you get.
Obviously really like him a lot. 58 on Yahoo is just really tough. I mean, that's the equivalent. Obviously, it's not apples to apples because you have such underpriced value guys on Yahoo.
Yeah.
But it's the equivalent of $14,500 on DraftKings when you just look at percentage of salary cap. So yeah, that's a pretty tough one, especially on a slate this deep where you can get so much upside for so much less money. It's tough to get there, and especially like if Randall were out, it would be different, just because then you're talking about 2.2 fantasy point per minute Anthony Davis,
and even then it's still really difficult to justify at $58.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so it's really tough to get there. More or easier to get to on DraftKings. Obviously relatively expensive, but still less than $12,000. So it gives you plenty of upside. Yeah, should play like 40 minutes here.
No problem with him on FanDuel or DK. If you want to go there, don't slow yourself down. It's a great spot. If you want any Drew, 9,200 on FanDuel, 88 on DK, 44 on Yahoo. Don't play him on Yahoo.
Yeah, they went pretty crazy with their Pelican
Yahoo,
pricing.
big fans of Drew Holiday, apparently.
Yeah. No, I mean, if I got a little bit, that would be fine, but I just don't like him as much as I like 8 other guys priced around him.
Yeah. Same for Randall for me. 8,500 on FanDuel, 79 on DK, 39 on Yahoo. If I got him, it's fine. I have a hard time prioritizing him on FanDuel. 7,900 on DK looks like a perfectly reasonable price for him, though, in the spot.
Yeah, right now.
Uh-oh. Coming back or nah? We made it. We were so close. 58 minutes in. 59 minutes in. That's an outstanding freeze frame. I'll wait for the Slack message telling me this just died. But we'll get there. Hope you didn't want any Julius Randle hot takes out of ship. It's going to be a minute or two. I'll wait for the IM to come in. I'll continue to talk Pell's side. Look, Randall, that man need a pay raise. He gone. Get a better... I love you guys. I love chat. I'm waiting on the message. Still hasn't come in yet. He might have just died. Everybody should have bought Adam a new modem for Christmas. No bullshit. I've got one sitting like directly next to me. I've got 3 routers just in boxes over here. Maybe I'll send him one. Oh, I thought that was the sound of him coming back. It's just the sound of his corpse falling out of the call. Ship my gravestone. That one's good too. That one's pretty good. Ship my gravestone. I like that, Mike. I like that a lot. Alrighty. I'm going to get back into this. He said be right back. That doesn't mean that it's going to be anytime soon. So let's keep it moving. Randall looks fine on DraftKings, in my opinion. 14% expected ownership is a little scary. Move on. Eton Moore, 4,300 on FanDuel, 4,300 on DK, $12 on Yahoo. No issue whatsoever going to Eton Moore in this spot just because of the pace of this matchup. It should be a ton of scoring. He'd be the type of value guy I would want to look at. Just keep an eye on his ownership. After that, I'm going to have a tough time prioritizing someone like, Okafor or Frazier or Darius Miller, no matter how many minutes these guys are getting. So I don't have any interest in anybody else from the Pels. It's mostly just whatever AD that I get. And then some Eton Moore as a value play, I think is functionally fine. We'll hop over to Spurs and Nuggets. Hopefully I can draw this one out as long as possible because I know Adam has some takes on this game. Spurs 109.75 implied total. Nuggets 106.75, so Spurs 3-point favorites at home. We'll start on the Spurs side. This isn't the most appealing game from a pace perspective, but the Denver side we're going to have to really dig into. DeMar, though, 8,700 on FanDuel, 7,900 on DraftKings, $35 on Yahoo. Not really a spot where I'm all that interested. Nuggets defense is solid. It's not really that sort of pace up spot, but if you get to any DeMar and you're a big fan of it, go for it. He just kind of grades out as like appropriately priced. Similarly, we've got LaMarcus Aldridge for 7,600 on FanDuel, 7,200 on DK, $28 on Yahoo. If I'm grabbing anybody in this spot, it's probably Aldridge, especially with Denver playing as big as they've been playing, with Mason Plumlee soaking up a ton of minutes, Jokic obviously soaking up a ton of minutes. Aldridge should have no problem playing 30 plus so long as this game stays close. So feel free to grab some LaMarcus Aldridge here. After that, we're looking at relatively chalky Rudy Gay. 6,200 on FanDuel, 5,900 on DraftKings, $24 on Yahoo. I don't totally see the appeal of Gay on FanDuel. 6,200 is fine, and that position is not great today. I don't get the sense that I want to just follow the chalk on Rudy Gay. If Rudy Gay stays above 20%, you'll be in a much better spot if you just offload some of that to some of the guys that are around him. It's not that kind of spot where you need to load up. Derek White, 4,700 on FanDuel. Ignore it. 3,700 on DK. Keep an eye on it. Flat minimum on Yahoo. I think it's fine. No issue playing the flat minimum of Derek White in this spot. I'm going to save Jakob Poeltl for Adam if and when he ever gets back because I know he has some thoughts. I'm going to bounce over to the Nuggets side. Nikola Jokic, the best offensive center in basketball, with a bullet number 1. Got to get my plug in for Yoke. 10-3 on FanDuel, 9,600 on DraftKings, $4,700 on Yahoo. If I get any of him on FanDuel, that's fine. I think there are slightly better options below him. Similarly on DK, no issues there. It's a good spot. No one really going to slow him down on San Antonio. I want to prioritize the main guy here. Mason Plumlee is $6,300 on FanDuel. Meh. He's $5,100 on DraftKings. That looks really nice. Only 13% expected ownership too. Mason Plumlee is $12 on Yahoo. In my opinion, Mason Plumlee is probably the best play on all of Yahoo. I'll have him in almost every lineup that I construct today. I'll be jamming in everything I can on Yahoo. They don't have any crazy contests today, but they're still, negative 20% overlay or whatever. So I highly recommend starting your builds there. But for $12 for Mason Plumlee, if he plays, I have him in for 29 minutes right now. He's a point per minute guy, projected for $31.7 fantasy points on Yahoo at $12. I mean, he's almost like his median projection is already above ceiling value for him. He has a chance to really blow it up there if it goes crazy. So, absolutely love Mason Plumlee. From there, Monty Morris for $13 on Yahoo is fine. Like Jamal Murray, Mason Plumlee, Monty Morris, all these guys are pretty nice value plays on DK. Everybody's really underpriced on DraftKings. So if you like Jamal Murray at 6,300 on DK, he's going to be chalky, but it looks good. Same for Plumlee, same for Morris. Trey Lyles, if he was getting enough minutes, you'd be interested. But he's also a good value play based on his price. Just it's not the type of spot where you want to load up. My focus would be on Murray on DraftKings, Mason Plumlee on DK and Yahoo, and then Jokic, mostly FanDuel and DK. I probably wouldn't go to him on Yahoo at $47. You really need a big ceiling there. Still no ship. We'll circle back to that Spurs game if and when he comes back. I mean, if very aggressively as well. Late night hammer. Final game. Los Angeles Clippers hosting the Sacramento Kings. 122.25 implied total for the Clippers. 116.75 for the Kings. So, nice little late night hammer. Biggest total on the board. 239 maybe? Fuck, did I type that in right? 238.5. Yeah, I did. This is going to be a really appealing game. No defense, just big totals, big pace. This is the one. So, Tobias Harris, 8K on FanDuel, 7,800 on DraftKings, $31 on Yahoo. He's just not a guy that I get a lot of. I'd be fine with Tobias Harris and cash in this particular spot, but I have a hard time going to him at tournaments when he's priced at this spot. Gallinari's price has been climbing like crazy. 7,300 on both sites, 27 on Yahoo. I'm not that interested. Montrezl Harrell, I think, is the key here. 6,600 on FanDuel. He's chalky. I think that price is nice. He's chalky on DK at 5,700. Again, that's a really, really low price Montrezl Harrell for what he has been. 1.1 fantasy points per minute over the last 30 days. And then just $20 on Yahoo, another really nice value option. If you want to go to my boy Lou Will, I would recommend only doing that on FanDuel, if anywhere. He's 5,400 there, 6,600 on DK. Don't touch Lou Will whatsoever on DraftKings. And then finally, if you want to go to someone like Gilgeous-Alexander on DK for 4,500 or $13 on Yahoo, that looks fine. If that's not your bag, Patrick Beverley for 4K or $12 on Yahoo, I think is worth at least a little bit of a peek. Ignore everybody else on the Clippers. EMAC. Great Wooderson, EMAC. Kings. This one I'm excited about. I got a lot here, so I'm hoping Adam can get back and tell me if I'm crazy. De'Aaron Fox, 8,200 on FanDuel, 8,200 on DraftKings, $33 on Yahoo. Fox is one of my favorite plays on FanDuel at 8,200. This game looks great. Clippers defense, I mean, first and foremost, big time pace in this game. Clippers play fast. 6% worse than average at giving up fantasy points per possession for the Clippers over their last 15 games. I have a ton of Fox. One of my favorite plays of the day on FanDuel. He's a guy that I'm going to be jamming in quite a bit. Everything looks good for him here. Similarly, Willie Cauley-Stein, 7K on FanDuel, 6,500 on DK, $20 on Yahoo. I think Willie Cauley-Stein might be the best raw center play of the day at $20. He's been playing low 30s minutes. There's no one really to worry about from a defensive standpoint. Willie Cauley-Stein is not going to be. There's not much aversion to Cauley-Stein because of Harrell or Gortat or Boban. So Willie Cauley-Stein is an excellent play. Any site you want. I got him a lot on FanDuel. I'll have him pretty much everywhere. And then finally, Buddy Hield, 6,700 on FanDuel is just simply too cheap for his production and his minutes. I've got him in for 34 right now. That's minutes. 36 FanDuel points. 38 on DK. Like, I'd be willing to pay the $7,200 price tag on DraftKings, although it's not as appealing. Similarly, I'd be fine with having the $27 price tag on Yahoo. Hield just looks good across the board, but Yahoo would be the priority. And Bielitsa for 5,300 on Yahoo, or 5,300 on FanDuel. There's too many prices now. I'm just dying trying to memorize them all. Bielitsa looks really good on FanDuel. Similarly at 4,800 on DK. It's a really good spot to target, in my opinion. It's the best game of the day from a fantasy perspective. Try to get some bites at the apple. It's going to be good to have the late night hammer at 10:30 to drive you home. But in my opinion, De'Aaron Fox is the best play coming out of this game. Willie Cauley-Stein a close second, depending on which site you're playing on. No sign of Adam yet. We will get his wrapped up totals near the end. We'll go over some of my favorite positional stuff. We want to take a look at FanDuel to start. Wall, De'Aaron Fox, Dinwiddie, Dennis Smith Jr. if he plays. There he is.
What's up? Sorry.
Ship my modem is back. He's been shipped no modems for this holiday season. So I went through the rest of the Pels, Spurs and Nuggets, and Clippers Kings. So
did you?
Oh, I did. I'm good like that.
Nice.
Here's what we'll do. Give me your consolidated thoughts on the rest of the Pelicans.
So I was in the middle of talking about Julius Randle. I like Randle. A little concerned about the minutes he played last game, but still think that he has plenty of tournament upside. Beyond that, kind of a mess. Like Davis, I think is obviously the most appealing.
Okay. I know you want to hit on this one a little bit, so give me your Spurs takes.
Not anything that I'm like super confident in. I just wanted to point it out that if the Spurs are going to play some Jakob Poeltl alongside LaMarcus Aldridge, like ever, this is a spot where they can do it. They did it for a couple of minutes against Minnesota in their last game, which was really the last opportunity they had to run a lineup like that. It doesn't make a big difference. It's just that if you can project even, 4 to 6 extra minutes or something for Jakob Poeltl, he becomes a guy that in 150 tournament lineups, you can get at 0.5% ownership that potentially could give you a good game.
Okay. Did you want any other part of the Spurs? Derek White at 3,700 kind of looked a little appealing.
Yeah, I mean, those guys, him, Forbes, like Bellinelli, they're not guys I have any sort of confidence in whatsoever. But I think all three of them are priced cheap enough that they have tournament upside because one of them generally has a good enough game. It's just a matter of figuring out which one's going to get the minutes and which one's going to play well. Really good luck with that. But I think that they're all guys that you can mix and match in tournaments.
Okay. On the Denver side, most of these guys are priced a lot better on DK. I already pointed out my Mason Plumlee at $12 on Yahoo Love, but hit me with your DK takes.
Yeah, Plumlee's one of my favorite guys there too. I think that 5,100 with power forward eligibility is pretty nice. Nikola Jokic obviously is relatively expensive for the slate. I mean, he's more expensive than Towns. He's more expensive than Vooch. He's more expensive than Drummond. He's a guy that I'm really, really going to want to pay attention to ownership on because he's another guy that we talked about with Towns that other centers tend to get more love, and Jokic is one of them. So if people are going to pay the extra money for Jokic than those other guys, I'm fine with just saving a little bit of money. But if people are going to basically just take the approach of rostering the cheaper guys and not going all the way up to Jokic, then I would want to be over the field just because he obviously can be the highest scorer on the slate at the center position pretty easily.
Yeah. Any Murray for you? 6,300 on DK?
Yeah, I'll have some. Not a bad matchup. Should play, a bunch of minutes. I think he's a very reasonable play, and that price range isn't as deep as like the $8,500 range.
Right. And finally, Clippers Kings, huge implied totals on both sides. Late night hammer in full effect. Talk to me about the Clips side first, because I don't see a ton of appealing stuff outside of Montrezl Harrell.
Yeah, Harrell's the one that I was going to mention immediately, just because the price tags come down to where we'd really like it to be. If he plays 26 to 28 minutes, he can beat that price tag. If it happens to be a game where he gets 30 or 31, then it's really, really easy for him to beat it. So he's the one that, really stands out. Gallinari's price has finally come up to where I think it probably should be. Him and Harris are both guys that I'm okay with, but I don't love. Same goes for Lou Williams.
Yeah. Lou Will, 5,400 on FanDuel is worth at least a little bit of a peek.
Yeah, I like that price.
Yeah. Gilgeous-Alexander, $13 on Yahoo, I think is fine in a matchup like this that could be really up and down. Just wanted to get wrap up those takes again. Now, give me your Kings. That's because this seems like the spot to smash some people.
Yeah, I think it's a great spot for Willie Cauley-Stein, especially at that $20 Yahoo price tag that we talked about earlier.
Yep.
I've loved taking centers against this Clippers team. You know, it's some combination of Marcin Gortat, Montrezl Harrell, and sometimes Boban. I think that as long as Cauley-Stein can stay out of foul trouble and stay on the floor, that he should do really well here. With Bagley out, it does help to solidify those 34 to 36 minutes as long as he's not fouling. So I think that that's fine. Bielitsa is obviously risky, but he's cheap enough where if he plays well, he probably gets over 30 minutes and would pay that off. I like De'Aaron Fox, obviously, has just been absolutely phenomenal this season. Should play in that 34 to 36 minute range in a really, really appealing spot as far as pace goes. So even though the price tag on him has come up a little bit, he's another guy in that low to mid $8,000 range that can go for 50 plus relatively easily. I think 5,500 on Bogdanovich is fair. Hield's a little more expensive than I would like.
Yeah, Hield 6,700 on FanDuel. I love him there. Fox, one of my favorite plays at 8,200 on FanDuel, same price as DK. Just love those guys. I think they're slightly underpriced for what should be a speedy, high-scoring affair in the late night hammer.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
You ready to talk Thrive props?
Yep.
Let's do it. ThriveFantasy.com, everybody. Join up. This is the spot in the featured tournament. We'll start at the top with the one I mentioned from the beginning. Devin Booker, 24.5 points. You get 105 for the under. What do you think of Devin Booker here?
24.5 points and 105 points for the under?
Yeah.
All right, well, I got him at 23.8, so I guess I'll take the under.
I've got him at 22.2, so I am also taking the under. Let's see what else looks good. I want somebody from a fun game. Okay. I assume I'll be under here, but LaMarcus Aldridge, 30.5 points, rebounds, and assists.
30.5 points, rebounds, and assists.
And that is even action.
It seems about right. I have him at 32. So I guess I'll take the over.
I've got him at 29.1, so I will take the under. We're different on that one. Any of these standing out to you? Do you have it pulled up?
I just pulled it up, so I haven't looked through it yet.
Okay. We'll do one more here. Nikola Jokic, 25.5 points and rebounds. And
I'm going to guess that I have the over.
90 for the over, 110 for the under.
25.5 points plus rebounds. I have like 28 or 29. So I guess I would have to take the over.
Best offensive center in basketball, Nikola Jokic, projected for me 32.3 points and rebounds. I will take the over and just the 90 points. And I assume that not a lot of people will join me on that journey for 90. All right, give me one.
I think I know where you're going to be at, but 10.5 rebounds plus assists for Oladipo.
Ooh. Victor Oladipo. Rebounds plus assists, 10.5. What's the action?
1.5 or 105 on the over.
Rebounds plus assists, I feel like, is one we never do.
Yeah. I have him at 12.9.
I have him at 11.1. So give me the over and the points.
Yeah, same here.
Final one. Do you see one that stands out aggressively?
Kemba.
Okay. That was one that I was looking at. 29.5 points plus assists for Kemba Walker. Even action on both sides.
I have 29.8.
Okay. I have 31. So I will take the over on Kemba Walker tonight.
I'll take the push.
You can bet on that if you'd like. Have at it.
No, I'll take the over because I mentioned it when we went through that game, but I'm just not convinced that I don't have him under projected.
Fair enough. 5 Thrive props right there. ThriveFantasy.com. Go on and check it out. Adam, do you have anything else you want to touch on here?
Deeper dive show tonight at 4:45 with Lofty and myself.
Yeah. Live before lock tonight should be myself and Chris Spags. The only option would be not having me on that show, but I expect to be there. So, live before lock from 6 to 7, taking you all the way up until 7 p.m. I think we're good. I think that's it. Oh, Lofty will have the deep dive out in the early afternoon. So, I hope everyone had a great holiday. NBA Strategy is the promo code. 7-day free trial if you enter it at awesemo.com. Best of luck tonight, everybody. We're out of here. Have fun.